Hello, and welcome to another episode of Rooted and Rich. I know I say this all the time, but we are here again with one of my favorites. I guess everybody is my favorite, but I have some that I just love, 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 and Teri is one of them. We're here with Teri Ijeoma. I learned about Teri, I think in like 2018, 2019. I was watching her social media. I'm like, this girl is smart. And she was a Black girl talking about the stock market. And I think you were one of the first that was out there talking about that. I always tell people, I'm like, I don't know anybody that was doing it before Teri was doing it. And she was telling people about investing in the stock market. So at the time, and you don't know this, but I'm going to tell you, I was only investing in real estate. And I was like, let me look up this stock market and see what I need to do. And I started doing a little here and there, investing in stock. And it was because you inspired me. So I'm so excited to have you here.
My pleasure.
Yes.
Love that.
So as you know, on the Rooted and Rich podcast, we talk about money stories that help us to build, grow, and live a life of financial freedom. So we like to start with talking about what we learned about money growing up. So what did you learn about money when you were growing up?
My mom and grandmother were the biggest savers. And it wasn't even like savers, like saving money in an account. It was saving like clearance. So if it's got on sale, we're not buying it. We didn't have a lot, so it makes sense. But I learned that like you had to always get it on sale, never buy at full price. And that actually is something I had to unlearn when I got older.
Yeah.
Because now when you're trying to invest, you actually have to spend money.
Yes.
And you have to pay people what they're worth.
Yes.
Can't think that there's going to be a discount or you're going to get something for cheaper. But that was something I had to unlearn because I'd always been taught, like, if it's not on sale, don't buy it.
Right. Yes. And those lessons, we take them with us as we grow older, whether it's through somebody told you that or just watching it.
Yeah.
So that's why I like to talk about that. And then tell us about a bad money decision. I don't like to say bad decision, but a money mistake that you made.
This isn't necessarily a mistake, but many people don't know I've been in real estate for the same, like 15 years as well, just as long as I've been a trader. And back in the day, I would help people as an apartment locator. I was a apartment locator, but then also a management broker in Texas. And I remember a summer looking at my account and it was on like negative, but it was because you do all this work trying to make sure to get your clients and then you don't get paid until after, especially for the apartment complexes. They would take a while to pay their invoices. And so it wasn't a mistake, but I think just a time where I had to remember, like, you put in the work. You may not see the outcome yet, but you put in the work. And I remember looking at my account and it didn't look like I had put in the work.
Right.
But just believing like, no, these checks will start coming in eventually. You just got to keep showing up for your clients and doing the things that you're supposed to do.
Right.
So
that consistency and being, sticking with
and
it.
pushing through even when it gets hard.
Yeah.
Because of course it didn't feel great not having a lot in my account. I'm trying to make sure that I can eat something cheap, can't spend too much because I'm waiting on these checks to come in.
Yeah.
So that was a harder time, but I wouldn't say it was a mistake, but it was just harder.
Yeah. So how did you learn how to manage differently so that you wouldn't be in that situation?
Yeah. I think after the commission checks did start coming in, I actually started saving better, but then also investing in the stock market too. So I would take the money I got from my real estate commissions and then I would invest it in the stock market. And then I always made sure to have some cushion so that as I was continuing to run my business, I would have a little extra money for that.
Right.
And then I also was working as well. I think making sure that I didn't leave my full-time job until my side hustle got actual up and running.
Right.
So those are a couple things that I did.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's always great to have that additional source of income. I think whether you're an entrepreneur or you are a 9-to-5 worker, it's the same. Like having an additional source of income that is like, okay, well, if something hits the fan or if this doesn't happen the way I need it to happen, then I have these other funds, and then investing those funds, making sure that they're working for you. That's huge. Sweet. So how did you learn how to invest in the stock markets?
I was introduced to it in high school. I went to a program at Hellas.
Northwestern?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So they introduced me to the stock market originally. Then I went to MIT and I interned on Wall Street. So those were like my two foundations. But a lot of what you learned about how to personally invest, I had to learn on my own.
Yeah.
So for about 6 years, I was trying to figure it out by myself. Then I started taking some courses and got much better. And then just kept trading.
Right. Now, we're going to talk about one thing about trading that we need to talk about. Have you lost money trading?
Oh, of course.
Yes.
Of course.
So I always tell people it's not about how much you lost, but how much you make. Because as long as you're making more than you lose, occasionally you are going to lose some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not occasionally. As a trader, it is guaranteed that you will lose.
Right.
One of our big principles is reward to risk ratio. Yeah. In any trade, you're trying to make 3 times more than your risk.
Right.
But that means that you can take 3 trades and lose 3 times and win 1 and still break even.
Right.
But the thing is, you're going to be losing probably more times than you're actually successful. But you got to make sure that your successful ones are large and your risks are small and calculated.
Right. And the other thing I think is going back to what you said is your lesson that you learned is like that consistency, like don't stop, like don't quit because one trade didn't work out.
Right, exactly. And I feel like some people might feel like, well, Teri, are you saying that your return rate is super low? No, mine has gotten much better over the years. But as a beginning trader or even beginning investor, sometimes your first things may not go well. And to your point of consistency, keep going.
Yeah. So what is one piece of advice that you would give someone starting out trading?
I think there's 3 big parts of being a good trader. The first one is learning the basics, like what companies to invest in, the mechanics of buying and selling, that kind of thing. But I feel like a lot of people stop there. And then that's when they have losses and they're wondering, well, why did I have a loss? It's because the next part is risk management. You've got to learn how to protect your trade, how to protect your risk. And then the third part is the edge for the best traders is charting. Charting the best prices to get into a trade and the best prices to sell. And a lot of people don't go that extra step to find out, wait, how do I put a little bit more data behind this so I can be more successful?
Okay. And you teach people how to do that?
I do, yeah.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about your course.
Sure. I have a course called Trade and Travel, tradeandtravel.com. And there's 3 different courses. One of them is for beginners, like it's called the Stock Market Starter Kit. Another one is for stocks by themselves. So that's where we talk about charting and risk management. And then the next level is options, because some people like options, and so that we have another course for options.
Okay. Now, tell me about your money high point, like a moment that you felt like, okay, I really understand what's going on here.
Well, I made $1 million in a day several times.
Okay.
But
that's a pretty good high point.
Yeah. My very first time I made $1.8 million trading Amazon stock.
Wow.
And then I considered.
Now, were you trading stock or were you trading options?
Sorry, at that time it was options.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 100 contracts at the time.
Okay.
But yeah, I think when I started doing that consistently, I was like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
But you know what? Honestly, that's not true. Before that, I had felt like I got it. Back when I was assistant principal at the elementary school, I had sat and trained and I made $3,000 in a day. And at that time, that was almost my assistant principal salary. That's when I actually felt like I was big stuff.
Right.
The $1 million was great, but the first time was probably at the school.
Right. And so we didn't even talk about that. You were a teacher initially, and then you were working in administration.
Yeah, well, and I wasn't a teacher. I also have to say, I worked for Teach for America.
Got it.
And I trained teachers. So when I went into education, I was on the admin side. I was an assistant principal right away.
Okay. All right. Awesome. And then you transitioned from that to having a new type of school, from administration to having a stock school, right?
I did.
Yeah. So tell me about that transition. I want to know, like, what made you say, okay, I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave the school and start my own school, start my own business.
I didn't want to teach anybody. Got it. I left the school so I could live my life. I just started traveling. Yeah, I started traveling and I was affording it from trading. I had no desire to teach anybody.
Right.
It was actually the people that I was traveling with that started asking me to teach them. And so I taught them a class in Vietnam, then I taught a class in Thailand. And then when I got back to Dallas, they had seen it on Instagram, so they asked me to teach them a class. I had no desire to start a course. But I think the Lord was like, but I've uniquely given you the skills, uniquely prepared you to do this. And so it ended up blowing us. But that was not my.
And that's where trade and travel comes
That's
from.
where trade and travel comes.
Got it. Do you still love to travel?
I do.
Yeah, that's like my absolute favorite thing to do as well. So you got any trips coming up?
I actually just came back from a trip to Greece and Turkey.
Okay.
But the coolest part is I got to go to Thessalonica, where Paul preached to the Thessalonians, and then also to Philippi, where he wrote to the Philippians.
Goodness.
So that I've been enjoying trips like that, like unique kind of fun trips to learn things I'm passionate about.
Yes. That's amazing. So we're here, and of course, this is the Rooted and Rich show where we're telling people about how to build wealth. And one of the ways to do that is in the stock market. You mentioned your course. How can they find you on social media? And then tell us the name of your new book that you have coming out.
So you can find me at tradeandtravel.com. I was trying to figure out which one I wanted to tell you about, but you can find me at tradeandtravel.com. That's where you find all the courses. And then I have a new book coming out that teaches people how to invest. It's called The Risk Worth Taking. And you can also find that at tradeandtravel.com, or if you look us up at theriskworthtaking.com.
So where did the name The Risk Worth Taking come from? I love that name, by the way, but where did it come from?
In the story, the girl named Erin, she has to quit her job and then start traveling, kind of like I did. But it's a risk. And her grandmother tells her, I think this is the risk worth taking. Like staying in your job, she's kind of giving all the opposition, like, no, it's too risky to leave. This is a stable job. And her grandmother's like, in everybody's life, there's a risk that you take that changes your whole life. Yeah. And this sounds like the risk worth taking for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my big risk was moving from Detroit to Chicago with a little baby. And everybody was like, you moving? And you don't really have a support system there? And I had one person who said to me, my godfather, he said, you know what? Sometimes you just got to step out on faith. That part. And I did it, and it was the risk worth taking. No regret.
Love that.
Yes. I love that. That name really jumped out to me. So I'm so excited for you and your new book. Thank you so much, Teri, for joining us on the Rooted and Rich podcast. And thank you for listening to another episode of the Rooted and Rich podcast, where we talk about building wealth, living in your purpose, and making vision-driven financial decisions. See you next time.